welcome back to Cooking by the Book. This month I'm going to be making bread because I wanted to correspond to the BC Reads theme of Rise Up. So if you're interested in hearing more about that, check out bcpl.info. There's also going to be quite a few events in April, including book discussions and author visits, my favorite. So let's get started. And this one comes from Artisan Bread in 5 minutes a day. And just disclaimer, it's 5 minutes of active effort. You still have rising time and everything, but you don't have to knead your bread, and it's a lot simpler to do. So I start with, I'm gonna do a tablespoon of active dry yeast. And if you buy it in packets, the author says a packet is fine too, even if it does equal a little less. And I really like this book because they offer a lot of substitutions for that, based on what kind of equipment you have. So it really works for any home cook to get you making perfect bread at home with minimal effort. And I like to measure out my dry ingredients first because I tend to get a little messy with it, and that way I can just kind of keep it contained and clean up before I proceed. So then 6.5 cups of flour. And they also detail how you should measure your flour. You should not cram your spoon in and get it all pushed in there. You want to lightly, and if you need to, get a spoon to top it off so that you get accurate measurements. And if you are one who likes to weigh your ingredients as opposed to measure them, they do offer the equivalents there too, so you can be really precise. Six and a half, just barely made it. And now we can get to mixing. And you'll see how quick and easy this comes together. So you start with your water, 3 cups warm, not hot water. And they say under 100 degrees. It's okay if you err on like being a little cooler than that. The yeast will still work, it just takes a little longer. You might have to let it sit on your counter a little longer if you do that. But if it's too hot, like if it feels really warm or hot, you should not use it because it will kill off your yeast. And so the warm water's in there, then I add my salt and yeast and dump the flour in. And this is where it might get messy again. There we go. And you can just mix it with a spoon and bowl and do it by hand. That's how I did it the first couple times, but I figure I own this thing, I need to use it. And to use your mixer, make sure your beater is in there and you start on the lowest setting, otherwise it will fly everywhere and make a huge mess. And you just want to get it close enough so that it's combined with no dry or overly wet pockets in there. Oh yeah, make sure you use your paddle attachment if you are using this. Get my scraper around. And you'll notice that it's more of a wet dough than if you've ever made bread before, and that just helps the science of it work out. Okay, and then you simply cover this with plastic wrap and you let it sit for 2 hours. And then in that time, you'll notice it almost doubles or triples in size. You don't have to worry too much about exactly how much volume it's taking up. Just give it about 2 hours, a little more if you need to. Like I said, if the water's cooler or if your room's cooler, do it that way too. And once the 2 hours is up, you can either shape your loaf and bake it that day, or you can put it in the fridge and wait till it's more convenient. It holds up for up to 2 weeks. So there you go. I'm gonna clean up now, and then I'll meet you back here for our next step. All right, and now our not so hard work has paid off, and as you can see, our dough has certainly risen in those 2 hours. At this point, you can just stick it in the fridge until you're ready to use it. They do say you can keep it for up to 2 weeks, so if you're doing this for a holiday, you can do it well ahead of time and just pinch off that loaf when you're ready to do it. And so now we're gonna do a gluten cloak, but first I already started my oven to preheat because you're either gonna do it on a pizza stone or in a cast iron like I am today, and you want it to get really hot, so you want it to preheat for at least 20 minutes in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that in now. And because I have a plastic lid, it just screws out and it makes it more oven safe. It makes it a little more cumbersome to work with when it's hot, but it works. And what that does is it sort of creates a bread oven at home, and it traps all the steam so you really get that nice flaky brown crust. All right, let's get started on shaping our loaf. So for this, you want to take off, they say about a grapefruit size ball of it, and it's very sticky and stringy and fun to work with. You can also, if you're a stickler, you can weigh it out to do 1 pound, 1.5 pound loaves. So you take the size loaf you want, and we're gonna coat it, just the outside, with flour. And then this we're gonna shape into our ball. And you see it's very sticky. If you've ever made bread before, this is a much wetter dough. And so we're gonna work with that. And then you just shape it for no more than 30 seconds. You kind of wrap it around until you have a nice smooth surface. Then I usually like to get it, let me get my scraper. So you're not actually kneading the bread here, you're just kind of smoothing it out till it looks like a nice polished. You put like a little flour blanket around it. And now I'm gonna put it on my parchment paper, and that way it's really easy to just slide into the cast iron pan when you're ready to cook. And now we just wait for another 40 minutes until it's ready to go. It's not gonna rise a lot at this stage, it will do most of that in the oven, but this is just to kind of form that shape of it. So now I just clean up and get ready. Maybe read the latest bestseller that you're on and wait for the next step. You have your formed loaf here. It's sat for 40 minutes. We are all set to go. I'm gonna put a little bit more flour on the top, and that just keeps the knife from sticking. And now you're gonna do slash marks. And you can do cool diamond patterns if you want. I'm just gonna keep it simple. And this kind of creates neat patterns when it rises. An extra crust, which is always good, at least when you do artisan bread. And now that is ready to go in the oven, and you'll see I just take my parchment and I will slide it right into my cast iron to bake. After about 20 minutes, I'm gonna slide the parchment out, and that gives you a nice, like, dry, crunchy bottom crust and keeps it from getting soggy. And then you leave, I usually leave the cap off for the last 10 minutes too. Total baking time of 30 to 35 minutes. And I find that leaving the lid off at the end helps it, you really get that nice browning. All right, our bread is all done. Look at that. It's a little too hot to cut now. What's cool about this recipe is you can kind of hear the steam like singing to you when it comes out, and that's how you know you did it right. Let me just hold this for a second to show you. You also kind of want that little crackle of a sound to come through. And when I cut it for dinner, I usually we'll cut it half-wise and then cut it lengthwise, and that way you get the perfect size for dipping. I like doing it with like dipping olive oil, hummus, toppings like that, or of course jam for breakfast. So there you go, perfect artisan bread with minimal effort every day. So be sure to check out BC Reads on our website to see how other authors have risen up. And thanks for joining me again as we cook by the book.